Hey y'all, my name is Kiara Ramirez, my pronouns are she, her, and welcome to Chelsea Speaks.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Tomás, mis pronombres son él y ellos, and we are hosting today at Youth Elemento. We are so excited to be here. So let's meet the team.
Bueno, gracias. Mi nombre es Kaylee Bonilla. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a peer mentor here at Youth Elemento.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Candy Magaña, mis pronombres es ella o ellas y soy mentor de pares en Youth Elemento.
Hey everybody, my name is Michael Reyes. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a peer mentor and recovery navigator here at Youth Elemento.
Thank you for the beautiful introductions. So Wendy, why Chelsea Speaks? Why are you doing this podcast?
Thank you for that question. My name is Wendy Mancia. Thank you for having me here. I'm the program manager for Youth Elemento under North Suffolk Community Services. And I am super excited to be here, honestly. I think this podcast is so much needed in this city. But before I answer that, I do want to give a quick shout out to North Suffolk Community Services. That is our agency, and thank you for giving us the time and the privilege to do this today. The other shout out I do want to give out to is Green Roots. It was because of them that we have the funding to actually make this happen. I am going to read it off because it is a long name. So it's a Green Roots Storytelling Grant by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation for Culture for Health Prize alumni. And to answer your question, why Chelsea Speaks, we think that it is very important to share our lived experiences. I think we've all had challenges in life, and I just think that it's very important to talk about them. One thing that I want to note quickly is that by speaking of our stories, it's not a way to bring back this trauma back. It's actually to take control of the narratives that we weren't able to control when it happened to us. So by speaking on it, we're hoping that, we inspire at least one person out there. The other thing I want to mention is Chelsea's my hometown. Woo woo! Shout out to Chelsea. I went to school here, so I do know what it's like to live here. And one of the things that I remember thinking as a teen is that we need to work on a few things. And I think one of them is the mental health stigma. And the second one is youth voice. I think that it's very important to hear from young adults and how they want to receive their services. And I think this is kind of our why our program is so successful, is because we actually tailor that to the young adults and whatever you guys want to do. And lastly, Youth Elemento is a program here in Chelsea. We're right on Broadway, 289 Broadway. And we just thought the name, it just spoke for itself. We're in Chelsea. Some of us, if not all of us, work here or have lived here. And that's what we named it, Chelsea Speaks.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for sharing. And Cristina, can you tell us a little bit what is Youth Elemento?
Sure, thank you. My name is Cristina, and I am the supervisor at Youth Elemento. What is Youth Elemento? Youth Elemento is, I will say, a house for young adults. Mm-hmm. It's a low-barrier program, meaning you don't need health insurance, you don't need a referral, you don't need a mental health diagnosis to attend the program.
Even an ID.
Right, you don't need an ID, as Wendy said, to come and use our services. Our program, Youth Elemento, is designed to close that gap between the youth needs and mental health. Before we move on, I just want to acknowledge that Thomas and Kiara, they are young adults that use our drop-in center, and we would like to hear from them. I would like to ask them a couple of questions, if that's fine with you guys. Yeah, for sure. So my first question will be, what has been your experience with mental health?
I want to thank you y'all because since I came here that casually, was a completely accident. I wasn't even expecting I was going to be here in first place. You guys received me with the best, better than nobody else will ever do in my life. And you guys been supporting every single of my dreams since I came here. So I just want to thank you y'all for, support me.
Thank you, Thomas, for sharing. Yeah, that's so nice to hear. What about you, Kiara?
Similarly to what Tomas said, thank you guys for welcoming us with open arms. Sorry. But honestly, just like he said, it's such an open space where I'm not forced to talk about my mental health, but I find outlets to deal with my mental health. For example, Kaylee, she does drawing and I also draw. So it kind of helps that we work on top of each other to find that outlet.
Shout out to Kaylee.
Yup.
Thank you both for sharing. And my other question will be, what have you seen? What are the biggest challenge you have seen when accessing mental health services or services in general?
I can answer that question. Um, for most people, it's really hard to afford like a mental health like therapy. Especially when people who have really really big problems. It became more like a business than a really helpful like the community, and the fact that like it's places like this that they don't find like any like m- payment for this, but they just trying to help the community, especially young adults are the ones who suffer the most. And places like this, I think is really good. Yeah, so I think that's my opinion about it. That's kind of like the biggest challenges, and I'm glad that you've been approaching it really well because I've seen a lot of improvement in most of the people who came here, especially myself. I'm sorry if I mentioned it too much myself. But yeah, in my experience, I've been changing a lot. Even though I still challenge it with a lot of stuff.
What about you, Kiara? Have you experienced any like challenges?
I think similar to what Tomas was talking about, um, economic restraint is very hard, especially because I notice a lot of people in Chelsea are working class. Rent is expensive and a lot of utilities sometimes. Because we are just trying to survive, we just tend to forget that we also need to take care of ourselves. I also think another portion of it is also just the cultural aspect of it. Like, I think majority, if we're being first gen or just like Hispanics, we often don't believe in what mental health is, and we constantly will have a stigma for that. But I'm glad places like Youth Elemental break it down.
Thank you. That actually give us, I guess, to all of us, a great insight of what's mental health, how can we like approach that, the work we've been doing, and we still have to do a lot to change what you were talking about, the stigma, hacer la diferencia de una manera positiva, marcar la diferencia en la ciudad de una manera positiva y de manera individual a cada uno de los jóvenes. Y ofrecer los recursos gratis, totalmente gratis a los jóvenes. Para nosotros, para muchas personas puede ser un cambio muy pequeño, impactar de una manera pues como sí, ahí están los servicios. Pero para muchas otras personas que usan nuestros servicios es en realidad un cambio grande, es en realidad un aporte enorme que puedan tener acceso a todo eso. Candy es una joven que usó nuestros servicios anteriormente, como las terapias, muy importante, los servicios en general, y tuvo la oportunidad de hacer la transición de ser joven usando los servicios a ser una mentora para el resto de los jóvenes. Entonces, para nosotros eso es una visión muy importante que tratamos de poner día a día sobre la mesa y llevarla a cabo. Pero bueno, I think that's enough, suficiente. Candy nos puede hablar acerca de qué es un peer mentor. What is a peer mentor, Candy?
Muchas gracias, Cristina. Y sigo siendo joven. O sea, ¿qué? No pasé de joven.
Bueno, yo no tanto.
Ok, gracias, Cristina. Sí. Pues un mentor de pares o un peer mentor es una persona que brinda apoyo y esperanza a través de su historia vivida. Casi no se menciona y es muy importante mencionarlo porque apoyamos mucho a los jóvenes. Yo fui muy apoyada por mis mentores. Cristina, es un placer. Y también es un placer ser la primera de cumplir la visión y la misión de Youth Elemento. Y bueno, ser un mentor de par o un peer mentor, como les dije anteriormente, es la persona que apoya y le brinda esperanza a través de la historia vivida. Y eso es lo que queremos en este momento enseñarles y que ustedes nos conozcan a nosotros. También un mentor de par apoya a los jóvenes a conectar a servicios comunitarios. No solamente nuestra historia vivida va a impactarlos, sino que también ayudarles en sus pequeñas cosas de su diario vivir. Es importante recalcar nuevamente que ustedes en este podcast nos van a conocer a cada uno de nosotros y que se inspiren a través de nosotros. Los jóvenes no solo van a ver que los podemos ayudar con un seguro médico, que los podemos ayudar con sus trabajos, sino que también servir de inspiración para que ustedes vean en nosotros resiliencia.
Gracias, Candy.
Nada, de nada.
Yo no pude haberlo explicado mejor.
This is what we're saying is that, like, you know, she knows how to speak for it because she lived it and she's done this, you know? So that's a perfect example.
Claro, estoy en acuerdo. 100% agree, 10 out of 10. I will say, Michael, you are also another peer mentor. I wanted to ask, why did you choose this work?
Yeah, great question, Kiara. I think for me, I just really know how important it is. It feels really personal to me. I've seen the impact struggling on your mental health can have on all aspects of your life. And it's one of those things where if you're dealing with something that's hard, it's really just going to spill into all the aspects of your life if you don't get help and support and find growth and progress and recovery for yourself. So for me, you know, I know what it's like to hurt. I know what it's like to feel helpless in your circumstance. I know what it's like to struggle to get out of bed in the morning sometimes. And I've seen just how destructive that can be when you're not prioritizing your own mental health. And so, yeah, for me, like, I just feel like I've lived it. And getting to work with young adults really reminds me of some of the stigma and challenges that I faced at that time in my life. And so I try to remember those things and try to be, you know, thinking about, okay, what were the things that I really needed at that point in my life? And I use that to kind of like guide me to kind of, you know, provide mentorship and guidance for you guys that are, you know, trying to go through similar things on your own. And I think for all of us, we went through a lot of these struggles alone. And so to hear you guys kind of talking about how Youth Elemento is like a second home for us, that's really telling us that we're just trying to do it's like gratifying that we're doing a good job, you know? Because that's at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that you guys aren't going through these challenges alone the way we kind of did.
What you just said reminds me of my favorite quote ever. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? No, I don't. There's a quote, and the quote is, "Be who you needed when you were younger." And I think all of us kind of tap into that quote when we give out services and everything, because we're literally giving the young adults what we didn't have, which is like the space, this home. Like, you know, this would have been awesome if we had it. I'm just saying.
It feels like parenting. Like, when, you know how like parents are like, you know what, I want to be better than my parent.
Like to give.
Kinda, yeah. But I feel like it doesn't just have to be like a parental thing. I feel like it's just a general thing. But also, thank you, Michael. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
So Kaylee. Kaylee is another peer mentor here, and I was gonna ask you, what is your favorite part to be a peer mentor?
Has definitely been building a connection with you guys. As someone who has a very passionate part of me with art, it's something that I've used to progress in my childhood years, and I've also liked to share that here with you guys as young adults and the program. And I found it useful to build connection with you guys, with young adults who have that passion for art as well. We want you guys to feel at home here, feel welcomed, feel safe. And I feel like with that connection, it helped you guys open up to us and just express yourself. And with that, we can just see your growth and the success through and through.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Also, personally, me and you get along very well because I love drawing. You introduced me to painting. Also, like Wendy too, like she's actually the one that encouraged me to stop using pencil and paper and actually put something on a canvas and stop overthinking it. But I have so much fun here, and I think my favorite part will always be drawing. I literally only come here to draw when I need to do something. But yeah, what about you, Tomas?
Honestly, I think I mentioned it before, you know, I think it's music, you know, and that's kind of my main thing. And since I came here, like, you guys been supporting me since the beginning. So yeah, that's my favorite part, you know, even though you guys gonna see it later in next episodes. They have a place that is completely acoustic to like play music and stuff, and it's really fun, and it's kind of my favorite place here because sometimes when I don't feel like it, it's like my place to, like, you know, be there, you know, to like just be myself. And I really like what they did for me.
So having Thomas here as a tutor for those young adults is actually very helpful.
We are so grateful for giving us the opportunities to learn more about ourselves and just enjoy the privilege of just being here and able to relax. I have previously mentioned the word stigma. And I specifically wanted to know more so, working here, what kind of stigma have you guys faced?
Yeah, I think for me, it's definitely going to be LGBTQ. I think so. I'm gonna just share a story that I haven't shared before, actually. So, last year we were invited to do the Chelsea Parade. So we had a whole vision for our truck. So our theme was gonna be inclusivity. So we put in like the flags. I know Kaylee made like a brain that had like different inspiring words, and then we had the LGBTQ flag. But everything was to represent inclusivity. It was not a good day. It was raining. It was pouring. So all of our stuff got damaged. But it's all good. We were still in the spirit. We did it. We had you and your sister perform in the back.
I mean, the weather was so bad.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I think I remember. I tried to go, and then they had canceled it twice, and I was like, did I just come here for
Yeah.
nothing?
So, we still rolled through with it. We still went through with it. We were still hype about it. But I remember that the young adults, they had the LGBT flag on their back. So as we pulled up from the lot, we took that left onto Broadway. And when I looked to my left, there was a person like standing on their porch, and they had like, I don't know, like their 8-year-old, 9-year-old. And as we passed by, they were like, "Boo! No gay, no gay." And luckily, the young adults were facing the back, so they didn't see it. But when I saw it, I put my window down and I'm like, "Woo, yeah!" Because like the point wasn't to only promote LGBTQ; it was to promote inclusivity. And at that moment, it kind of put me back into like, wow, we really haven't changed that much, like as a community. And when I kept going, I saw the person, and that person actually went to high school with me. No way. Yeah, and it put into perspective like it's not generational; it's more of views, right? And I think what hurt the most was that they were saying this in front of their kid, and this is just normalizing this thing, right? So for me, I wanted to start there. Like, I think we need some more work to do with that. And I kept it to myself because I didn't want to put a damper on the parade. Can you imagine, like, we did all this and then, like, that's the first thing we saw?
That's horrible. Like, no, like, it's horrible, and you're not wrong. Like, even as somebody who's surrounded by so many LGBTQ people, like, there's literally been a flag ripped off from, like, a teacher's classroom, and, like, a sticker off somebody's, a laptop. So it's not much of a change, but it's kind of insane because, like, a few years ago, I didn't see the same, I guess, kind of like interaction up until now. And it's kind of scary because it makes me wonder, are my friends safe?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point because that's part of the stigma, right? Like, we have to normalize this because, like, at least in this drop-in center, a third of our young adults are LGBTQ. Well, a third. So that's a lot.
Well, it's also because for me, I'm always like, they're just a person. Their own gender identity or the way they view their sexuality should not be none of my concern. Regardless, they're their own person, and I feel like some people care too much about it.
Just
I'm like,
embrace all.
Yes, just worry about yourself,
Right.
But we can't always do that. How about you guys?
Yeah, I know you. Some of you guys had also like same or different ideas about their experience with the stigma. So you guys want to share?
Yeah, so talking about stigma, one of the ones that I kind of see all the time is men's mental health and the stigma around that. Before I do get into that, I just want to give you both a shout out. Thank you for sharing your stories, and I think it just highlights, even though there has been a lot of progress, there's still a lot more work that needs to be done, and that's why this center and centers like this are just so important. So yeah, men's mental health. I think for me, one thing that I've noticed is it's just a big issue in our society. Men in particular were taught from a young age that there's like this false narrative that to be strong or to be a man means that you're not allowed to show feelings, you're not allowed to ask for help, you're meant to just suppress and ignore things and get through and fight through, and like that's what real strength is. And when in reality, that can't be further from the truth. And so I think like I said, the messaging just starts earlier, starts early in our lives. And particularly, I think around our cultures, there's a big problem around machismo, and just like how that gets intertwined with our families and our friends and in our cultures. And it can be very like damaging and harmful, just kind of like having that narrative pressed down from our cultures and kind of generationally down. I think especially for men, like oftentimes what happens is we get targeted and bullied if we are trying to express our feelings, or if we are crying, or if we are asking for help. And that makes it really hard to navigate those feelings and kind of get the support that we need. So I just want to say to everyone, but especially to men, like it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to cry if you need to. That those are all perfect like human like responses to mental health issues, and especially for men, like it's important to be able to have a space where you get to do that. And so the last thing I want to touch on is just for me, I think that's why I feel really passionate about this work. Trying to advocate and trying to educate and support people with their own mental health journey is just a really, it's really, really something that I'm passionate about and something that's important to me.
Michael, you remind me of something. Like here in Youth Elemento, we have groups, and one of those groups is a cooking group. So yes, Buen Provecho. The Buen Provecho group, what we do here is we cook together. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, we cook together.
Or anything else in between.
It's not like, right, it's not like, yeah, because you're a woman, you come and cook. So the whole machismo thing, you're totally right about it. And for me, like the stigma behind mental health, it's basically, or not basically, it's actually more complicated than it sounds. The lack of knowledge. I will say people who doesn't know what mental health is, who hasn't been in therapy, they lack that knowledge. And so for that reason, we have so much stigma behind it. For people that come to therapy, we have our clinician, she speaks Spanish, she's bilingual. Y ella nos da la terapia a jóvenes que vienen de otros países, que vienen con esa mentalidad de machismo, con esa mentalidad de la terapia es para locos, la terapia es para personas débiles. Yo pienso todo lo contrario, la terapia es para personas que son lo suficientemente fuertes de reconocer que algo no está bien o que algo está bien, pero que está mucho mejor si voy a terapia y trabajo en esas cualidades que ya tengo y hago las cosas mejor. Entonces, that for me, like therapy doesn't mean you're weakness, no. It means you're strong enough to be able to recognize that something is going on and it's totally fine to attend therapy. So that's what I have seen here, like, and that's very cultural.
Cristina, ¿cuál es el dicho de las ropa sucia?
La ropa sucia se lava en casa. And that's something that we hear all the time. Se escucha todo el tiempo. La ropa sucia se lava en casa. Meaning, los problemas que tenemos se quedan en casa. You don't go out there and share those problems because that belongs here in our house behind doors. So, no. We try to educate young adults, people that come through these doors, that it's okay to talk about your feelings. So, está bien hablar de nuestros sentimientos, está bien hablar de esto que no nos hace sentir bien.
So it's okay to clean the laundry here.
Of course, you can
I mean,
come.
Tomas is doing it right now, but like, you know.
Literally have one.
Yeah,
Don't
he's
expose
actually
me right now.
Tú puedes venir a hacer tu laundry, traes tu ropa, pero también tenemos una terapista que te ayuda a limpiar todas esas cosas que no están bien en nuestra mente.
Yo fui una joven, sigo siendo joven, emigrante, emigrante. Y sí, yo traía eso en mi cabeza de que no, ir a terapia es para locos. O no lo digas, o sea, tú estás falta que hacer. Ve, busca qué hacer y ahí se
Lava
te va
los trastes.
Sí, lava los trastes. Ok, el piso también.
You don't have depression.
Sí.
¿Cómo es?
Y se te va la depresión.
Oficio.
Hace oficio y se te va la depresión. No es así. Y tampoco quieres, o deja el teléfono porque sí, las redes sociales tienen que ver, pero no. Sí, es falta de conocimiento, falta de educación de salud mental. Y una de las cosas que más me dolía escuchar era, tú solo quieres llamar la atención. No, nunca queremos llamar la atención. Hay algo dentro de nosotros que no está bien. Y sí, Cristina con mucha certeza lo dijo, no queremos llamar la atención, los problemas no se arreglan en casa y tampoco un terapista es para locos, porque la salud mental sí es importante.
Thank you, Christina y Candy. I completely agree with what you were saying, and I feel like the stigma that I see a lot is avoidance out of fear. And this goes back into the lack of knowledge, lack of education, not knowing what a diagnosis is and just labeling. For example, an individual is diagnosed with schizophrenia, an individual is diagnosed with autism, bipolar, you name it, people tend to label it. people say they're crazy.
There's always some
And because
ignorance.
and because they're so they're scared of that, they self-isolate from these people out of fear that something may happen, or even they just don't give them the opportunities of that. And I just think this just goes back to what I said, the building the connection. We're not here to know other things about you. We're just trying to know who you are as a person. Build that connection, because maybe you are diagnosed with something, but that's not you. It's a part of you, but that's not defining you, you know? And I think that's something important that people need to understand, that a diagnosis is not going to define who you are as a person. It's just a part of you, and that's it.
Yo pienso que es muy importante lo que Kaylee acaba de decir, y lo voy a decir en español para las personas que nos ven que no hablan inglés. Nosotros acá vemos a las personas, a los jóvenes, como personas, como tú eres Tomás, tú eres Kiara, tú eres Kaylee, y no las vemos como el diagnóstico que ellos tienen, porque eso es algo más clínico. Nosotros no estamos acá diciendo, viene el autista. Entonces, es muy importante tener eso muy claro, y es muy importante para nosotros respetar, porque para nuestra cultura, para los latinos, puede que sea muy común llamar a alguien por su diagnóstico, labeling people, y todos tenemos un nombre, y qué bonito es cuando alguien viene a nuestro programa, y son muchos, porque los jóvenes que vienen a nuestro programa son bastantes, y poderlos llamar a cada uno por su nombre. Es una tarea que tenemos difícil, porque es difícil grabarnos más de 300 nombres, que en el momento tenemos 300 jóvenes registrados, y podernos memorizar eso, pero es una tarea bonita, porque somos humanos, ¿cierto? No somos un diagnóstico, no somos una enfermedad.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for all of you guys for sharing the parts of your own personal stigmas and what you see around. I will say I do agree with what Cristina said. It's often a problem when understanding that a diagnosis does not define who you are. Also, it kind of just brings back how sometimes people just forget a diagnosis can just help you better understand the person. It shouldn't isolate you from them. And things are bound to happen. We're all human. So regardless if that person has a diagnosis or not, we should always be mindful and respectful.
And every episode going forward after this is going to highlight each of our lived experience with different themes, right? And we'll describe the themes as we get closer to it. But this is the gist of this podcast. This is what we're going to be talking about. So I am excited.
Yeah, and I know that it is the same thing that what Candy mentioned in the beginning, you know, like doing the labor of like a peer mentor, you know, sharing their experience and help them through that.
And if you want to learn more information about us, on the screen, we're going to have our Facebook, our Instagram, and our website. Our website is youthelemento.org.
Just to conclude, guys, thank you also for hearing us today. And also, stay on tune. Our next episode, we're going to talk about a little bit of the story from Cristina, la pérdida de perder a alguien que amas. So, whoever o cualquiera que esté conectado and, you know, feel related with this theme, that's going to be for you. So, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Thanks for watching y esperamos que lo disfrutaron. Ciao.
This was Chelsea Speaks.
Woo.
Bye.